Hey, it's Ethan here at eTrailer. Today we're going to be taking a look at the RockyMounts AfterParty swing away bike rack and how it fits on the back of our 2023 GMC Yukon XL. Like I mentioned, this bike rack does have the ability to swing away. Once we get it undone, it comes out a full 180 degrees, so we're going to do that now. Starting down here at the bottom with this knob, you just hand loosen this until it unthreads. You'll feel it when it comes out. So you do that till it releases, and then there is this pin right here in the back. You lift up on that, you can start the swing away process. There is another pin once you get towards the end, if you want to rotate it as well. You'll hear them both snap into place, and then once it's all the way out, we have plenty of room to get into our hatch and plenty of room outside of it. So if we want to set up here and use the back as sort of a place to hang out, we can do that. We can set down, change our shoes, we can get full access to get anything in and out that we might need. So that's definitely the unique feature of this bike rack and what sets it apart. To swing it back in place, we'll start by releasing this knob in the front and starting the process. I like to get back on the other side to complete it though. As you can see, RockyMounts always has their nice color-coded system, which allows us to know what goes where and how to use it. Again, we might have to release this knob at the front again to swing the actual top part of the rack away so that it closes up, and you'll hear it click back in place. Then we come back down and tighten this knob back in place, and then everything is secure. We probably want to keep this horizontal if we can so that it doesn't mess with our ground clearance, but we'll get to that in just a little bit. So it does have that swing away feature, but if you'd rather just tilt the bike rack away, it does have the option for that as well. Again, color coordinating, you'll see that there's that blue lever on the back. Pull that out. It does tilt away pretty aggressively, so even for our Yukon XL, it does have a pretty large hatch, so there's plenty of room for clearance. And again, if I did want to get back here and sit down, you probably have a little bit more room on this side because the swing away base won't be in your way, but there is still plenty of room to get things out of the back, sit down and change your shoes if you need to. Once it's back in place, you can see that it is just a 2-bike platform style bike rack. It's capable of supporting 2 bikes up to 60 pounds each, and it holds them primarily with this dual wheel mount design. So there's no frame contact. In the event that you wanted to transport your carbon frame bikes, you could do that because it won't damage the frame while you're driving. If you have a super aggressive alternative style frame bike, that would work as well. As you can see on this front wheel hoop, it has the ability to be adjusted. So if you do have something like a kid's bike you wanted to transport as well, you could do that. It's not tool free, but it is easy enough to just get this out with an Allen wrench, slide it down where you need it to be. To get our bike removed is really straightforward. So just holding on to the bike, we'll release these and we can slide each of the arms down. Again, I love RockyMounts for the ability to understand where those points are because they will be color coordinated. And the hoops go down quite a bit, so clearance is not an issue to get the bike up and away. Putting these back down, if I snap this into place, you can hear that ratcheting system that makes those micro adjustments to hold on to your tires. And you can see the trays themselves, capable of supporting a wheelbase of up to 55 inches. So because it does have that weight capacity of 60 pounds, this rack should work with most bikes, e-bikes, mountain bikes, road bikes. The one thing to consider though is that the trays themselves are only capable of supporting a tire width of up to 3 inches, so that might be a little bit of a limiting factor. Otherwise, again, it should work with most bikes. If you were to live with the rack in this position, it sticks out a little bit, but I'm going to get a measurement real quick just so we know exactly how much. So from the bumper to the furthest point back, in this position comes in at 29.5 inches, so it does stick out quite a ways. As you can see from there, it has a pretty significant rise and the stadium style, which helps when you're driving so that the bikes aren't making contact with each other, but it does also come up quite a bit. As far as ground clearance goes, from the ground to this lever is about 34 inches, and about as high as you're going to need to get that front bike off is 38 inches. So if you do have a heavier bike and you need to get it up that high, I can see that being a challenge for some people. But to save some space, again, we can use the same handle that we used to tilt the rack away to fold it up towards the vehicle. In this case, we do save a bunch of space, but I'll get another measurement just to see exactly how much. So from the bumper to the furthest point back now being that handle, it's 15 inches, so just about cuts it in half. As far as how close it sits to the vehicle, it doesn't get super close, and Rocky Mounts is always really nice. So you have more than 3 inches of space to work with, and it doesn't move back and forth pretty much at all. If you were to leave it in this position now, it does cover up some of the things on the back of your vehicle, including a good amount of your license plate from certain angles, and pretty much all of your backup camera. It's almost directly in the center, and this center post is going to block most of that. But your taillights are pretty much fully visible, and the back window isn't blocked at all. The rack does come with this large chain lock that secures everything down. I will say definitely don't drive with this on, but once you reach where you need to be, you want to secure your bikes, this is a great way to do so. The rack does use this 2-inch shank that fits into our 2-inch receiver tube, held in place by this anti-rattle bolt with this lock at the end that is key-to-like to that chain lock that we talked about earlier. I will say that because of where these safety chain holds are, that it makes tightening down the anti-rattle bolt on the side a little bit tricky, so that might be something that you run into. Overall, I think that the AfterParty is really nice and pretty unique in the fact that it does have that swing base that allows you to get full access. So if that's something that you need, this is definitely something that you might want to consider. I will say Rocky Mounts has a guide rail that is basically the same thing without that swing base. So if you don't need that, that's definitely something you might want to check into. But this was just a look at how the AfterParty fits on the back of our 2023 GMC Yukon XL. Here we are on our test course. As we hit the alternating bumps, you can see what it would be like to hit a pothole on the road. Our solid speed bumps simulate pulling in and out of a driveway or hitting a speed bump in a parking lot. We use the slalom portion of our course to simulate the side-to-side movement, such as turning corners or evasive maneuvers.